This is really, really vital, and we need to work with allies like Korea, Japan, and others to help build additional capacity there as well. More specialized inputs. It all comes down to compute. At its core, compute is based on chips. How many a country has, how powerful they are, and how well they work together. The exponential
Race against China, American AI companies need to succeed at home and abroad. However, we've seen
지금 강대국 미국 의회에서 아주 긴박한 경고가 나왔습니다. 인공지능의 핵심인 반도체 칩을 둘러싼 전쟁이 이미 시작됐다는 건데요. 대한민국이 가진 반도체 생산 능력이 이 치열한 경쟁에서 얼마나 결정적인 역할을 할지 지금 바로 보시죠.
We can enact protections for workers against displacement, ensure communities do not face hikes to their utility bills, and ensure civil rights and human rights are designed into the algorithms. China understands these stakes very well. That's why the CCP will stop at no lengths to win this competition. Just last week, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google all came together to form the Frontier Model Forum, a joint effort to stop China's campaign to reverse engineer their AI models. And just last month, the Department of Justice indicted individuals for trying to smuggle restricted chips to China. We should all be deeply concerned by how far Chinese companies are willing to go to gain an edge, even if it means breaking the law. But we should also remember why China wants to get our technologies in the first place. It's because American technologies, built by talented engineers around the world, often with the support of federal funding, are simply better. Unfortunately, the Trump administration's immigration policies, budgetary cuts, and attacks on leading AI labs are putting us on a path where we can't take advantage of anything, nor can we take anything for granted. Nearly 2/3 of the top AI companies in America were founded or co-founded by immigrants. That's what's great about our country. 38% of the top AI researchers in America are originally from China. Anyone who hears those statistics and uses common sense knows we need those immigrants. We should welcome them and reject wholeheartedly any form of xenophobia. But instead, unfortunately, this administration is banning immigration from dozens of countries, putting a $100,000 fee on the H-1B visas that AI researchers frequently use, and scaring away students with ICE raids. The scorecard on federal research funding, the foundation on which so much American innovation depends, is a similar story. We are slashing federal grants to universities, including colleges like IU-Indy, Purdue, as China increases overall scientific research spending by nearly 10% annually. Meanwhile, the Defense Department is trying to put one of our leading AI labs out of business because of a contract dispute. Killing Claude doesn't help us beat China. That sounds to me like benching one of our top scorers in a championship game. If we keep down this path, I fear that 10 years from now, we may not have as many technologies that China wants to take. That means we need a two-pronged approach. Firstly, I agree wholeheartedly we need to enforce our laws and protect our advantages. Chinese companies like DeepSeek cannot and should not get away with stealing our most innovative tech. The Commerce Department should go after those who break laws and break the rules with everything we've got. And it shouldn't just be us holding China accountable. We need a global coalition. We should work with our friends in the Netherlands and Japan to protect sensitive IP in areas like lithography. Now, we're all in this competition together.
인공지능 기술이 발전할수록 칩의 성능이 곧 국력이 되는 시대입니다. 중국이 수단과 방법을 가리지 않고 기술을 훔치려 하는 상황에서 우리 대한민국과 미국이 함께 기술 방어선을 구축하는 일이 매우 시급해졌습니다.
But secondly, we need to make sure our technology remains the best. We need to attract top talent, train the next generation of workers, and keep America's innovation engines running. The easiest way for China to win is if we shoot ourselves in the foot. The future of AI must be built on American values and not the CCP's dystopian vision of censorship or surveillance. I believe we can keep our edge and win the future if we get to work. Thank you. I yield back, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Representative Carson. And if any other member wishes to submit a statement for the record, without objection, those statements will be added to the record. Now I'd like to get to our witnesses, and we're very fortunate to have you with us today. Mr. Dmitry Alperovich is the co-founder and chairman of Silverado Policy Accelerator and co-founder and former CTO of CrowdStrike, one of the world's largest cybersecurity firms. Mr. Alperovich has served as a special advisor to the Department of Defense and served on the Department of Homeland Security Advisory Council and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency's Cyber Safety Review Board. Mr. Yusuf Mahmood is currently serving as Director of AI and Emerging Technology at the America First Policy Institute. Prior to joining AFPI, Mr. Mahmood worked part-time during law school at Rand, where he focused on energy deregulation for U.S. AI leadership. At AFPI, Mr. Mahmood's research has covered U.S. CCP AI competition, including accelerating the U.S. AI data center build-out, building federal government capacity to counter distillation, and forthcoming research on securing U.S. AI companies from CCP espionage. Dr. Kyle Chan is a fellow in the John Thornton China Center at Brookings Institution. His research focuses on China's technology development and industrial policy across a wide range of sectors, including AI, robotics, semiconductors, electric vehicles, and batteries. Dr. Chan has testified as an expert on China's industrial policy before the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission, and he has a PhD in sociology from Princeton University. And with that, I want to welcome all of our witnesses. And beginning here this morning.
미국의 혁신은 다양한 인재들이 모여 가능했습니다. 하지만 닫힌 이민 정책으로 인재가 줄어든다면 결국 고성능 칩을 실제로 만들어낼 수 있는 대한민국 같은 든든한 파트너의 존재가 더욱 소중해질 수밖에 없죠.
Succinctly, our problem has never been funding. It is the embargo on high-end chips, quote. Because they cannot access the best technology DeepSeek needs, he says, twice the computing power to achieve the same results as the international competitors. But if any doubt remains about how seriously China takes this, the lengths to which it is willing to go to acquire compute should settle that question. In the last several months, the Department of Justice has unsealed indictments involving billions of dollars in illicitly exported NVIDIA chips routed through Southeast Asia. The stakes of that gap could not be higher. There is a moment coming in AI development, a threshold of what is called recursive self-improvement, when AI systems begin to meaningfully accelerate their own advancements. The country that crosses that threshold first will enjoy a compounding advantage that may never be closed. The good news is that we have a choke point, and export controls have prevented China from closing the compute gap. But we're not fully exploiting it, and in some cases, we're actively undermining it. To ensure the United States remains ahead and China cannot catch up, my recommendations condense into two overarching imperatives. Don't arm the enemy, and don't create another Strait of Hormuz. To ensure that we do not arm the enemy, we need to first hold the line on export controls and close the loopholes. Providing China with cutting-edge AI chips is the modern equivalent of selling rockets to the Soviets during the moon race. No one in 1962 would have seriously entertained licensing our best rocket technology, or even our second best, to Moscow just for business returns, or for the ridiculous notion that it would get Soviets, quote, addicted to our space tech stack. The strategic stakes today are just as clear and arguably even higher. We should be no more willing to hand China the tools it needs to beat us in this race than we were to hand them to the Soviets in the last one. There should be no licenses granted for advanced AI chips to China, period. To that end, the AI Overwatch Act offers a sound framework: mandatory congressional notification before any such export is approved, verifiable safeguards preventing military end use, and a guarantee that chip exports do not come at the expense of domestic availability. Second, stop supplying China with the equipment to build its own chips. Export controls and finished chips mean little if the US, Netherlands, and Japan continue selling China the semiconductor manufacturing equipment to eventually produce them domestically. The Match Act is a strong step forward, and I'm glad to support it. Third, strengthen protection against AI model distillation attacks that enable theft from leading US AI frontier models. Fourth, establish Know Your Customer KYC rules for cloud companies.
기술 유출을 막으려면 전 세계가 하나로 뭉쳐야 합니다. 특히 리소그래피 같은 민감한 기술을 보호하기 위해 미국과 네덜란드, 일본, 그리고 대한민국이 함께 협력해야 한다는 점을 강조하고 있습니다.
Finally, we need to ensure we do not create a semiconductor Strait of Hormuz, a choke point where a strategic adversary can disrupt global supply and constrain U.S. policy choices. The United States must address a longer-term strategic risk: China's drive to dominate foundational or so-called legacy chip markets. While the United States and allies lead on advanced chips, China is pursuing foundational chip dominance through the same state-backed non-market policies it has deployed in steel, solar, and electric vehicles. Following these recommendations can ensure the United States keeps its lead in the most consequential technological race of our time. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Mahmood, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Molnar, Ranking Member, and members of the committee. I'm Yusuf Mahmood, the Director of AI and Emerging Technology Policy at the America First Policy Institute. It's an honor to speak to this committee about the CCP's campaign to steal and sabotage American AI technology. Today, I want to discuss a stark and urgent reality. We are not prepared to secure our AI systems. If we decided tomorrow that it was a top national security priority to prevent the CCP from stealing our most capable AI software, we would face extraordinary challenges. We're starting from a vulnerable position. The CCP seeks full AI domination by 2030, and it lacks the capital and talent to win fairly, so it steals. These aren't theoretical harms. Right now, Chinese AI developed from stolen American technology is helping Iran target American warfighters. Let me walk through 4 ways that we are vulnerable to CCP theft, especially on the software side. First, distillation attacks. Chinese companies run industrial-scale attacks against American AI platforms, using stolen outputs to train their own systems. Every major American AI lab has been hit, and distillation of American IP helps to fuel China's AI ecosystem. Although there are legitimate uses of distillation by our adversaries to steal American AI outputs is a threat to American AI dominance. Second, trade secret theft.
결국 승패는 칩의 개수와 성능, 즉 컴퓨팅 파워에서 갈립니다. 중국이 불법적으로 칩을 구하려는 이유도 대한민국이 보유한 수준의 정밀한 제조 능력이 없으면 AI 경쟁에서 이길 방법이 없다는 걸 잘 알기 때문입니다.
Of AI, including humanoid robots, autonomous vehicles, and industrial automation. In particular, a large part of their industrial policy efforts are aimed at semiconductors, which they've kicked into high gear in the face of our export controls and other measures. China is now racing to build a resilient domestic semiconductor industry across the entire supply chain. Photoresist, etching and deposition tools, chip design software, memory, packaging, and even advanced lithography machines. Export controls are not a panacea, but they have bought us some time. The question is how we use this time effectively. 3, does winning mean making sure that AI benefits the American economy and the American people? This may be the most important definition of winning, and the one we focus on the least. Technological leadership does not automatically translate into broad-based social and economic gains. Having the biggest and baddest models alone won't cut it. The real test will be whether we can leverage AI to make our economy more productive, our workers better off, and our communities more vibrant.
한번 벌어진 기술 격차는 다시 좁히기 어렵습니다. 미국이 수출 통제로 칩 공급을 막는 이유는 명확한데요. 이는 곧 최첨단 반도체 공급망의 핵심을 쥔 대한민국과 미국의 결속이 얼마나 중요한지를 잘 보여줍니다.
Foster China's reliance on the American AI stack by selling them more capable chips?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a great question. And first of all, it's important to understand what the American AI tech stack is. It is not chips. It's like saying the car is tires. The American AI stack is chips running in American cloud providers and operating American models. That's the American AI stack. Selling China chips that they run in their own data centers that are used to train and run Chinese AI models is not helping us one bit. And chips themselves are not cocaine. They're not addictive. In fact, if you look today at all of the major AI models, whether it's Google's, Anthropic's, or OpenAI's, they're all trained on a variety of different chips, Google's TPUs, Amazon's Trainiums, and NVIDIA chips. And in fact, I was told by one of the leading labs that it took them just less than a dozen engineers in a couple of months to move off NVIDIA's architecture and add other chips to the mix of the training infrastructure that they run. So the idea that by selling advanced chips to China, we would keep them addicted, is contradicted by historical evidence. If it takes this little effort today for our own labs to move off this infrastructure, why would it take China any more effort?
Thank you. And Dr. Chan, you have mentioned that you believe that export controls have meaningfully slowed China's AI development in the near term, while also noting that they've spurred China's domestic semiconductor efforts in ways that would ultimately reduce our leverage in the long term. How do you reconcile those two findings, and what recommendations do you have in that area?
So I think this is really key when we talk about the effects of export controls, that they are not a be-all, end-all solution to winning the AI race. They can slow China down in the near term, and we have talked about, and you guys have talked about, how Chinese AI developers need better chips and they're compute constrained. So this is slowing them down today. The issue is, as Mr. Alperovich has noted, there's a broader AI stack, and China is trying to develop a more robust semiconductor industry in response to some of our actions. So I do think that we have to consider the net effects, and we have to think about this as an important but temporary and partial measure that we need to complement with a whole host of other policies rules. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr.
칩만 막는 게 아니라 만드는 장비까지 관리해야 합니다. 특히 미국이 말한 추가 생산 능력을 확보하려면 대한민국과 일본의 반도체 공장이 얼마나 잘 돌아가느냐가 전략의 성패를 가르게 됩니다. 보시죠.
Outworks the commercial sector on an unprecedented scale. And this Mythos situation actually highlights the chips point even more so, because the estimates out there from AI researcher Ryan Fedosuk are that Mythos is running on at least 100,000, maybe 200,000 NVIDIA chips just to work with companies to identify the bugs in their systems today under Project Glasswing. Well, according to Secretary Lutnick, the entire production line for China estimated this year is 200,000 chips. So if China had this model, they would literally use the entire year's worth of production just to run this type of project, aside from being able to run any other models or even train new ones. So this is why compute is so essential, not just to help stop China from creating these models, but also to prevent them from running them effectively. Thank you.
Mr. Mahmood.
Thank you for the question, Representative. I think it's also worth asking how they would come to acquire that capability to begin with. And one key way they could acquire that capability is by stealing it directly from American AI companies. Now, as I mentioned in my oral testimony, today's AI systems are the least capable they will ever be. And as impressive as the most recent models are, I think if one extrapolates the trends, one can imagine even more impressive.
칩 하나보다 더 중요한 건 클라우드와 모델이 합쳐진 전체 체계입니다. 이런 인프라를 안정적으로 돌리기 위해서는 대한민국의 고성능 메모리 반도체 같은 핵심 부품들이 톱니바퀴처럼 맞물려 돌아가야 합니다.
Chairman, earlier this week I chaired the Commerce, Manufacturing and Trade Subcommittee hearing on energy and commerce on the state of semiconductors ecosystem. The scale of the vulnerabilities of the global semiconductor supply chain was staggering. What particularly struck me was a report by the Semiconductors Industry Association that estimated that the impact of a disruption to semiconductor supply chains coming from Taiwan could decrease U.S. economic output by 11%, double the 2008 recession. Mr. Alperovich, what do you view are the most important steps the United States needs to take individually and with allied countries to isolate China's potential impact to the semiconductor supply chain? I know you mentioned it. Maybe you can elaborate briefly.
Absolutely, Congressman. This is a really important issue. We need to focus on the resiliency of the semiconductor supply chain. The efforts by this administration and the CHIPS Act that this Congress has passed, really vital to this effort. If TSMC follows through on their commitment to build 6 fabs in Arizona, 6 advanced fabs, that will go a long way to achieving independence of production for U.S. needs, at least in advanced chips. But we also have to focus on foundational chips, because in every single AI system, in every single device, if you look at this iPhone, there's only 3 advanced chips in there. There's 150 foundational chips that drive this phone. alone. China is trying to dominate that industry. We need to make sure that allied countries, and the United States in particular, invest in fabs across the spectrum of both advanced, foundational, logic, memory.
최첨단 칩뿐만 아니라 일상기기에 들어가는 기본 칩까지 중국이 노리고 있습니다. 이제는 로직 반도체부터 메모리까지 전 영역에서 대한민국과 협력해 안정적인 생산 기지를 갖추는 것이 유일한 해결책인 셈입니다.
Large foreign trading partners, especially the EU, enact sweeping new AI data regulations that could be used to target U.S. companies. Mr. Mahmoud, how can we address new and emerging digital trade barriers to ensure American AI companies can outcompete their Chinese competitors on an even playing field?
Thank you for the question, Representative. I think we should have a willingness to use the full toolkit of our own trade practices to deter efforts that may undermine the competitiveness of our own companies. The details of what that looks like would have to be determined by the executive branch, but I think that we should broadcast a willingness to, for example, potentially apply tariffs. And I think the example goes beyond the EU. There are also ways that other countries, in particular China, might do the same.
Very good. Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
We're in the midst of figuring out if we're going to come back after there's a multiple vote series that they have and trying to figure that out. But why don't we take a recess right now? And is Representative Takuda coming back? No? Okay. And I don't, because of the multiple vote series, I don't know that we're going to be able to come back. And I just want to thank you. What a great hearing this has been, and for the information you've shared with us.
결국 미국이 말하는 생산 능력의 실체는 우리 한국인들의 압도적인 제조 실력에 있습니다. EU의 규제나 중국의 추격 속에서도 대한민국이 가진 정밀한 공정 기술이 있다면 미국의 AI 전략은 현실이 될 수 있습니다. 미국 의원들이 내린 결론은 간단합니다. 칩의 성능을 넘어 전 세계에서 유일하게 믿고 맡길 수 있는 진짜 실력을 가진 동맹이 필요하다는 것이죠. 이건 도움을 주고받는 관계가 아닙니다. 아무것도 없던 환경에서 스스로의 힘으로 반도체 산업을 일궈낸 대한민국 사람들의 끈기가 있었기에 지금의 AI 시대가 가능했습니다. 오직 실력 하나로 세계적인 대접을 받는 우리 한국인의 저력이 이제는 반도체라는 이름으로 강대국 미국조차 인정하는 핵심 자산이 되었습니다. 우리가 가진 이 기술적 자부심이 앞으로의 미래를 어떻게 바꿀지 함께 생각해보면 좋겠습니다. 오늘 영상을 보며 시청자 여러분들은 어떤 생각이 드셨나요? 오늘 영상은 여기까지입니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.